All right, I got my cool hat on. I got my little microphone on up there, see it? Now I'm fixing to take you outside and give you some insight as to what it is that I got going on here that pertains to exactly what your discussion is this morning. Let's have a look. You can pretty much see that skies are gray. It's been raining here for a while. There's all the red clay. There's all the mud puddles. You can kind of get an idea of the gradient that's here. You can see down there by the vineyard, it's lower. The greenhouse, it's a little higher. Composting area is a little higher. This is not the top of my elevation for my land. It still goes up another 40 or 50 feet higher than that, where my house is back there in the distance. You can see right here, I'm on the lower plateau here. And my workshop, that's the guitar shop over there, it's up over the top. The garden right here, which is the main garden you've seen in my videos, maybe, and my fruit and root plot, that's right here. You can see the gradient start to drop. And that edge right there is how deep the chips are. See, the camera stays nice and level. The cool thing about these little handheld jobbies, gives you an idea and a perspective. There you can see my cable system. I got my sheets laid out. And you can see down here at the bottom where it's actually the deepest. Okay? Now, if we go a little further over, you'll see we've had about 5 or 6 inches of rain in the past couple of weeks. And that area right there is moist, just below the garden. It's not a good place to be walking. We don't like walking there. Okay? But up in the garden, it's fine. But if I put 4 inches of chips over the top of that, I'd have 4 inches of mud. Let's go look somewhere else. This is my corn plot. It sits on top of this lower plateau. See that moisture holding right there? That's red clay's tendency to hold water and expand. Right there, you can see the corn plot. And you can see that the wood chips that I put down that were 12 inches deep 2 years ago are now almost flush with the soil. Okay? And that's because this is a high saturation zone. See how close that puddle is? When we get the heavy rains, this whole area is under about 2 or 3 inches of water. So it saturates the life out of this area here. And only after it's been drying up for a little while can I get out here and walk in those areas. Of course, we can walk in the chipped areas, no problem. As you might expect, the bordered edge, that's about 2 feet all the way around the center plot, is going to be spongier and, moist pretty much all the time. The main portion of the bed is elevated higher, and it has that moisture content lower, in lower horizons. Let's keep walking. I selected this area for composting because when it rains, the water does tend to kind of pool up, saturate the bottom of these compost piles, and then it runs off really fast. Okay, we had rain here this morning, so that should give you a good idea of how that works. It's still sitting there, high compaction zones, but it's already essentially perked through here. Let's look at another spot. This is my greenhouse zone right here, and it's using a moat system around it. It's sitting not on the top of this plateau because I needed it to be more level so I could build a level structure. So I graded that level with my loader, but I left a little bit of fall on the other side. And it's important that you look closely at this because you could say that this is inside of a hole. Watch. See the moat forming on the left side? See the water in there? So the water runs off the plateau, fills up this groove right here, where that little moat, saturates the chips. They're hydrophilic, so they draw it into themselves. And then when we get excess of moisture, I'm trying to get there quick so I don't waste your time, it starts to pool here, runs around the corner, and then it runs down the hill. I want to show you something here, okay? This is leachate. And this particular leachate, the vast majority of that leachate, you see the color? It's tannins from the oak chips in here, pine chips. So in the pines, it's terpene, and then everywhere else it will be somewhat more acidic because of the oak's tendency to draw those acids up from the native earth here. Okay, but on the whole, this sort of keyed in level plot Draws a lot of moisture, bro, and it's not at the bottom of the hill. Okay? The bottom of the hill is down there by the vineyard. I want to show you what happens because of how hydrophilic the moisture, I should say the moisture soaks into the chips. Okay? Here we are. I can walk on this. Not too bad at all. All right? Not bad at all. There's no sponginess. You know what I mean? Nothing. But I've got probably 2 or 3 more inches of coarse chips here than I do in here. Let's go ahead and have a look in there. All right. I want to draw your attention. Sorry about the noise. I got 2 fans on. They have to be on to the ground right there. Those are wood chips and compost. No manure. If I put manure in here, we'd have problems. I'm going to hit a step here where you're going to see moisture. See it around my shoe? There's so much moisture in here. When I press, it cools up. So much moisture in here that I have to keep the fans running all the time. On the flip side to that, well, I really don't have to water very much. You know, these are all hardwood cuttings that are becoming trees and plants and stuff. And, well, there's a lot of thrive present because of our habits. Quite a bit of thrive. So the moisture is managed here. It's managed. It has to be managed or the grow won't work right. Let's head out and go take another look. Don't forget, we're aware of this effluence right here. We're aware of this leachate. And if this leachate contains anything more than just wood chips, for instance, it contains high amounts of biosolids or high amounts of manure and all that's in the manure, it's eventually going to run downhill, like you see here. See this? This area stays saturated right until we get to spring, at which point we see the last rains and all the moisture that's in here begins to feed the grapes. But these grapes are perennials and they know how to go through the state of I'm inactive and I'm inactive. They know how to protect themselves. They know how to work better with anaerobes. They know how to do things that annular plants can't do. So as long as you bear that in mind, you can get a lot of thrive in a high saturation zone like this. Matter of fact, if you go down towards that pond, which is on a lower terrace, at that pond, we grow water purslane because water will grow in an anaerobic environment. Why did I say that? Water purslane will grow in an anaerobic environment. As a matter of fact, it seems to thrive in those fields down there too, where they stay wet. And these more riparian zones that take us all the way down to the creek that runs to the lake below and the other river. So I know that I can't get any crop to grow right here. I can get some crops to grow, but not any crop, not every crop. You know what I mean? There is a limit. There's a limit to what will grow and what will flourish in a highly saturated area. And if you can find anything that's compliant with riparian zones, they will grow there. So if you put 12 inches of wood chips down on the bottom of that hole, expect all 12 of them to be saturated. That started as 12 inches of wood chips. And it's already had another 6 to 8 inches landed on it twice in the past 3 years. So it takes a lot to manage it so that it's not super spongy like what you saw in the greenhouse over there. I think that if you understand these things, you understand the limits of the wood chips, the limits of the horse manure, the limits of, well, you against Mother Nature, you'll do really well. You know, for what it's worth, if I was going to do something like you were considering doing, there'd be no motorized traffic down there. I wouldn't bother tilling because you're going to kill too much soil biology. I would just go ahead and cover it with wood chips. Save that horse manure to compost and use, you know, where you need it, up high in the soil pockets. Because if you were able to tame the beast with really, really thick chips, like say 24 to 36 inches, then what you'd want to do is you'd want to make little tiny holes in there and put soil in there and then grow your plants. And wouldn't it be better to just, you know, well, don't wait, cover it deeply, make soil pockets, and then plant your trees, plant your plants. You can even plant annulars that way. But compost that manure first. No point in creating an inundation situation that you don't really want to have to mitigate later on. And you certainly don't want to leave dangerous phosphates dripping into the water where well, where all the other life has to be. Anyway, that's all I got, man. Peace. God be with you.